Hello everyone and welcome in this new video tutorial about the multiplayer combat editor. In this video we are going to create our first active skill. So it's basically an active ability. So we're going to head to our content browser, we're going to go to blueprints and we're going to actually go to third person blueprint, create a new folder called skills. And in there we're going to right click, create a new blueprint class and type in active. And we are looking for the active skill blueprint. We're going to select that and we're going to call this BP spear attack. I'm going to call that this way because I imported animations of a character attacking with a spear. So this is our first skill. We're going to open that up. We're going to delete what we have in front of us. We don't care about that. And then we're going to right click and type in setup. And we can see that we have a lot of functions in there. And what's interesting for now is the override folder. And so we want to create stat list. We actually want to override that. So we're going to look for create stat list. We're going to click that and we're going to right click once again and type in setup override. This time we're going to go all the way to the top of our list and we're going to look for trigger start effects. We're going to right click once again, type in setup override, trigger stop effects, like this. And then we're going to once again type in setup and we want to set active skill metrics like this. This is bringing a big node which is going to set up the properties of our skill. So what is the skill name? It's going to be called spear attack, for instance. What's the description? Deals damage in an area in front of us, for instance. What's the icon? You can import your own icon or you can use MCE built-in icons. We do not care much for now. I'm just going to use, we do not care, brother in arms, for instance. Costs, we are setting up the cost of our skills like this. You drag a wire out of the costs pin, you type in make. So this is a generic function I'm using for all of the skills in the example list. We do not want that. We want to make array. And then we want to drag another wire out of the first node it brings us. We want to make skill cost. And then we want to do it another time with costs like this, make array and make cost. So this is a bit long, but it is pretty modular. We're going to check that real quick. You can specify if the skill is trying to get. So first thing, all the way to the left of the chain of nodes, we have the cost that is asking for a stat. What should it consume? Else, damage, etc. We don't want to consume damage, obviously. I think we'll try to consume mana. And how much mana it is supposed to consume? We'll say 5, like this. And then the skill is asking who should be consuming the resource. Should it be the skill? Should it be the character using the skill? Should it be the weapon used by the character using the skill? So, for instance, if you know League of Legends and you want to build a character like Mundo, you can say that you want the skill to consume the stat of your character and to consume the health of your character, like this. But we're not doing this, so we want to consume the skill. And maybe, so we want to consume the skill stat, the character stats, and we want to consume mana. And maybe you want to add other costs, and you can just click the pin and add other costs to the list. It's going to consume them all when you use the skill. Is the skill stopping on release? It is not. What does it mean? It means, for instance, skill can have two behaviors. Either they instantly trigger when you click your input, and then they stop after a certain amount of time, or they can be activated for the entire duration of your the input press. So, for instance, for an automatic fire, it will stop on release, but the spear attack is going to trigger an animation and stop automatically. Tags. Tags is the list of gameplay tags this skill has. So when it deals damage, it's going to deal damage of the tags you specify here. How do you specify tags here? You drag a wire out of it and you type in bit mask. You want that bit mask. Make bit mask, and you want to specify what type of bit mask it is. You want to say it is a gameplay tag, and then you can specify what gameplay tag this skill has. Specifying the gameplay tags, adding new gameplay tags will be another tutorial video. For now, you can just specify, for instance, spear attack is a physical attack. And you can specify multiple tags if you want. So we're going to say this is a physical attack. And targets is the list of alliances properties this skill is supposed to target. So we're going to copy and paste that make bit mask. We're going to drag the return value to the target pin, and we're going to say that that bit mask is actually a skill target bit mask. And we can now specify what this skill is supposed to target. We're going to say it's supposed to target enemies and neutral, for instance. And then the use sound. The use sound is the sound used being spawned when the skill is used. It VSFX. VSFX is just a structure I created which uses a particle system and a sound effect and spawn them when the skill hits a target. And that's when the skill is being blocked by a collision. And the requirements. This is what you need to have to learn the skill. So we're going to drag a wire out of it. We're going to make an array. Make requirements is actually a function which wraps up what we need. In there, this is actually a function I'm using to wrap up the requirements for all of the skills I created in the example content. So it's basically saying that each skill needs a level of mastery of 1 for the tags we specify. So for instance, if we say, so this is asking for a gameplay tag, so we're just going to copy and paste the bit mask there. If we specify this, physical, we require a physical tags in there. We won't be able to learn the skill if we do not have at least 1 physical mastery. Mastery is a stat. So if you add the mastery stat to your character, and then you give your character a stat modifier of 1 specified in physical, you're going to be able to learn that skill. But we actually do not want that. So we're just going to say that we're going to make an array of that requirements, and we're going to say there are no requirements like this. We're going to hit compile. So this is it for the setup of the metrics. You have created a spear attack which consumes mana and has the physical tag. But now we need to say what it is doing. So these 2 events trigger when the skill starts and stops. And we have a little node in there in authority. We can drag the wire out of that. We can switch on authority. And you can do the same for the stop effect events. So this is basically triggering on all machines when the skill, this is triggering on all machines when the skill starts. So this is triggering on an client, on server, and on every machine. So you want to, so this is the place where we are going to specify what are the actions, what are the gameplay effects of our skill. For instance, we're going to say deal damage, spawn effects, spawn HUD, etc. And why do we have these three? Why don't we just say, hey, I want to deal damage? Because some of the effects cannot be triggered on in multiplayer. Some of the effects you want to call when the skill tree starts, some of these effects cannot be triggered on all machines. Some of them can only be triggered on an client or on server. Most of the time though, the built-in MCE features will be called in this pin. Most of MCE features are going to trigger on every machines. But sometimes, for instance, for the scope ability, you're going to call add interface, add widgets on clients, because not everyone should have the scope widget displayed on his screen, only the owning client, the one triggering the skill. And sometimes you will also have some server specific effect which will only happen there, but it's really in rare occasions. For further details, there are going to be many more videos about this, but you can also check out all the examples contents in the skills to get a better idea of how everything is set up there. For now, we're going to say that when we trigger the skill, it's going to play a montage skill, play anim montage. What skeletal mesh should be triggering the montage? We can drag a wire out of it and type in get user skeletal mesh like this. And then what montage do we want to play? I already created a montage, it's called Spear Man Attack. Make sure you have a montage to play and just select it. Like this. So when we play the skill, it's going to trigger the anim montage. So we are going to try that skill right away. We do not want to do anything when we stop effects for now. So we're going to go back to our third person character event graph. I added a few comments to better understand where we are, and I added a few things to improve the game feel of my character as well as animations and stuff like that. So we want to go to our skill initialization, and we want to learn the new skill we just created. So in our event graph, dispatch on initialization skill manager, we want to learn a new skill. We actually don't want to learn the generic projectile anymore. We want to learn our newly created skill called Spear Attack. Then we want to hit compile, hit save, hit play. And it's not working. So why is it not working? So the skill should be triggering, everything should be working right away. We're going to find out if the output log tells us anything. It doesn't. So I know why. That's because we do not have mana on our character, so we cannot trigger the skill. If we say that skill has no cost, by just removing the element from the cost list, we can hit compile, hit save, hit play. And when we hit play, our character is walking. And that's because I forgot to add a specific thing to my animation blueprint. That's something that allows montage to be played. So I'm going to open up my animation blueprint. I'm going to go to the anim graph, and I'm going to add a default montage slot in there. I'm going to hit compile, hit save, hit play. And then finally, our animation is playing. And we can see it's playing on all machines if I can bring up my windows properly. So, and if you wonder why playing the skill stops the movement, maybe on your project, playing the skill won't stop the movement of your character if you're moving in the same time than you are triggering the skill, and that's because we did not set up our state machine with our action manager. It's because you did not set up your action manager properly. And in my case, I did not set up the action manager either, but the animation I'm using is set up to work with root motion, and therefore it's preventing my character from moving when I'm playing the animation. So we want to add damage to that skill, I suppose, because for now it's doing nothing. We're going to quit. We're going to go back to our spear attack, and then we are going to say that when we use the skill, we want to find actors in box, and it's bringing us a big node with a lot of things. So we want to say, where is the box starting? We want the box to start in front of the user of that skill. So we're going to ask for the forward range of our user. We want that to be 100 in front of me, 1 meter. Where does the box ends? The box ends at the same location. How big is the box? The box is 50, 50, and 50 big. How is the box oriented? It's actually oriented to the same orientation as my user. Oh, I do not have a quick function to get my user rotation, so I will just say get user, get forward vector like this, and I'm going to plug that in the rotation pin like that. What am I looking for? This is asking for what type of alliances it's supposed to target, and this is the targets we specified there, and we can simply grab a wire out of it and say we want to get our targets. This is the targets we specified there. Max results, this is how many actors you want to hit with that skill. We only want to hit one actor. Center hit location is where you want to spawn the hit VSFX if you find a target. And for now, we're just going to say that we want the hit effect to spawn in the middle of the actor being hit. We'll see further, we'll see that feature more in another video tutorial. So this is finding actors in front of me. And what do we want to do? And this is the actors found by the node. What do we want to do with these actors? We want to deal damage to them. So I'm going to search for damage, and I'm going to search for simple apply damage. We're going to view apply damage and other effects in other videos. So we want to simply apply the damage of our skill like this, and it's asking for a triggering projectile, but there is none. If there is none, I can just specify there is none. So I forgot to do one thing. We forgot to actually add a bunch of stats to our skill. Each skill can have an array of stats, so we can actually get our stat manager of our skill, and we can actually add stats in there because we want our skill to have stats like damage, like the number of stacks of recast, for instance fire rate, things you can, each value you actually want to dynamically modify during runtime, at runtime, so during the game, you will need to create stats with that. But each stat is costing a bit of bandwidth, so you want to be efficient with that. So we are going to want we want our skill to have one stat, which is the amount of damage it's supposed to deal. We're going to say it deals, I don't know, 10 damage, for instance, like this. And then we want to hit play. We want to switch our team, and we want to go hit our other character, like this. And we can see we are killing him. And we can also see that we can spam the skill over and over. And that's because we did not trigger cooldown or whatever in our skill, so we're going to do that real quick. So we're going to add a new stat to our skill, which is going to be called cooldown. We're going to create a new cooldown. We're going to specify that this stat is cooldown. It has, I don't know, 1 second cooldown, for instance. And when we use the skill, we will actually trigger the cooldown of the skill, like that. We're going to hit compile, hit play. So I can no longer spam the skill. I can only trigger it once every second. So if I'm blue and I'm hitting the other character, if I'm looking at him, I'll kill him at one point. Maybe we'll add floating health bar to see what's going on in the game. It will be easier to understand what's going on in the game. So this was a quick overview of what you can do with skills. I think there are going to be many more videos about this. You can right click and type in features, and you can see that there are a lot of things you can do with skills. So I won't go over them in that video. It's going to be the subject of a lot of videos. So hope you guys enjoyed that video, and hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.